SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody back to the SmashFactor, the 2019 PGA Championship edition. This is episode 67. Hard to believe that we've been here 67 times with you guys, but we have. I'm your host. I'm back after a couple of weeks off. These guys picked up the slack, more than picked up the slack for me, and I really appreciate it. But I am your host, Michael Ruvy. You can catch me on Twitter at Michael Ruvy. As always, I'm here with my two other big-time players, Bucks at BP Snow 11 and Gup at I Am the Gup. As always, go to thrivefantasy.com, use the promo code GUP, G-U-P, and you will receive $10 free with your first deposit of $20 or more. The deposit bonus is for a limited time, so go get that free money while you can. Gup, you want to introduce some of our affiliates?
Yeah, as always, you can go to our affiliate page on the website to get all the links and detailed information to make it easy on yourself. Our first affiliate, as always, is Fanshare Sports. You can use the code GUP and get 20% off. This is a good week to try it, as all of our affiliates and ourselves, if you're not a member at Gup's Corner, get the major week, and then we have a pretty solid month. So if you want to try out a weekly, monthly package, this is a great time to do it. Get 20% off, see if you like it. They're the leaders in the industry for the ownership push, constantly adding content as well. Great guys over there. Give them a push. We'll reference them and our material as well throughout the week. Then next, our original and first ever affiliate, Fantasy National. You can go to fantasynational.com/GUP, and exclusive to Gup's Corner followers, you get 20% off. You can't get that anywhere else. So, it's an awesome deal for us. We all use their tools. So use the tools we use. It's helpful when you're in Slack as well. When people have questions or comments on models and rankings and all that, that's generally the most used tool. So it's a good add-on piece. And if you're unfamiliar with that or, kind of worried about computer skills, try it for a week. This is a great week to try it. Get the 20% off. See if you like it. And if you do, then hook on for the month or even the annual, which we all do. Then lastly, if you're not a member at Gup's Corner, we are this week offering 25% off our monthly or annual package with the code PGA Champ. Sunday it'll go away. All promos will end Sunday. Our weekly is now just a pure weekly trial, $4.99. The day you sign up, you get through that day the next week. So if you want to sign up today, you'd get through next Monday. So you'd still get next week's Monday content, or Wednesday, you'd sign up and get next Wednesday. So it's technically kind of an 8-day deal, but you can get that a try for $4.99. I'd recommend, if you're going to go ahead and do it, do the 25% off a month and try this month out, especially with the PGA Championship here. We have multiple avenues of content coming out daily. We already have several that came out over the weekend. And then the Slack chat and the E9 chat for majors are worth the price of admission alone. So give us a try out there. And look, again, you can find all those links on the website.
I believe also that a month gets you two majors. So I think it gets you the U.S. Open and the PGA. Don't quote me, I guess, on that but I'm pretty sure it gets you really close to two majors if you delay it maybe 2 days or something like that. But I'm not telling you to delay it, but it could get you two majors. Let's get into this week's agenda real quick. We're going to review the Byron Nelson and get what everybody wants. We're going to get into that second major with the PGA Championship moving up. We are into major season a lot quicker than we're used to. First, I forgot, but Bucks, how are you doing, bud?
Doing well, man. Doing really well. We just landed in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah, about an hour and a half ago. So just enjoying that travel life, ready to talk some PGA.
Yes, sir. And we were all a little surprised when, if you guys are watching right now on YouTube, when Gup came on, a clean shaven, looking good Gup. Gup, any other update besides that new fresh look?
No, it's been a pressing 4 or 5, 6 months. Just woke up this morning and wanted to kind of go clean. It's getting hot down here. So a lot of long days, long hours, and decided to, go fresh for a little while. My facial hair grows back in like 3 days. So if I hate it, I can grow it back quickly. So just gave it a try.
I like it. Let's get into this week's good, bad, and ugly then from the Byron Nelson. Bucks, you want to lead us off? I'm sorry, Gup. Go ahead and lead us off, Gup.
Yeah, interesting tournament. Betting wise, I was down overall. Couple key matches swung against us at the end. But I finally had a profitable showdown week. I took second in the big Saturday 275, I think is what it is. It doesn't get me anywhere close to positive on the year. But it's a good week and on showdown main slate. It frustrates me to all get out. Every Sunday night, if people have read my process article, they know I review, regurgitate, try to analyze what I did right, wrong, and different as a part of my weekly recap anyways. But I think I had 32 of my top 38 guys make the cut. 10 of those made top 20s. I had Sung Kang, I had Streka, I had Sucker, I had, Piercy was number 3 or 4 in my model. Gim, I had him in the top 25. And so I look at all that and you think it'd been a really, really good week. But once again, I'm in my 3 build. I had 9 of my 12 guys I used for my 3 lineups made the cut. And like 7 of those went deep. But I had 1 guy in each of those lineups miss the cut. So it just it's not unlucky by any means. It's part of the process in constructing. But you're right there, and you're so close. It hurts. It sucks to trust the process and know it's going to go your way at one point. But it's frustrating. But I have to. Like I preach, I talk because I want people to know, I was pissed last night. I get mad because you get that close. It's not like I finished DFL in every single contest and I had 2 or 6 lineups all over the place. When you're that close, it's probably more frustrating because you try to figure out the small tweaks you could have done. But that's why we're here, and that's why we talk about it, so people understand that everybody goes through that. Even guys that win all the time, you're going to go through cold streaks or down streaks that you just have to. That's why it's so important that we preach the bankroll management, contest selection, not going overboard or going all in because you think you have the nuts. Because as soon as you do, you're going to be out. Probably the ugly for me, and I feel bad, and I've kind of already heard it a little bit today because some guys have got pods out early, but people kind of downplaying and talking shit on the tournament. I've lived in the South my whole life, but Texas, Dallas, Oklahoma City area, and I can assure you the 8 days that this tournament has played in 2 years has been 8 of the most unusual weather days for a southern state, and especially Dallas, you could have. So it makes it unfair to the tournament because it's been 8 of the coolest, non-windiest, crazy rain delay days that you could think of. Now we get rain down here and stuff, but literally Thursday or Friday, it was 20 or 30 degrees below the average at this time of the year. So I just hope people and I'm not defending the course. It's a different style already, but people call it a Mickey Mouse, a municipal. It's not. If you want to come out here in mid-July and let's tee it up, you'll probably get your ass kicked by it. It's going to be a difficult – if they can get some 80, 90 degree, 10, 20 mile an hour, gusting 25 mile an hour south winds that we normally get out of the south here, it's at least going to challenge these guys because that's the only protection at that course is windy days, firm, hard conditions, and they just haven't had it for 2 years. So I feel bad for them. I hope next year they kind of get it. I don't know if they need to move out. But, again, it's unusual weather. It's not the time of the year. The time of the year is fine for it because if they played it in July, it'd be – brown and hard and just too difficult. But I feel bad, and hopefully next year we get to see kind of a little bit better tournament. I think this tournament can be a 12, 13 under type, maybe 14 under type win. I don't think it – and you can listen to Crenshaw and them. That's not how they designed it. I know Bucks is more in line with the course setup and all that, but that's not how they wanted it played. And so I feel bad for them, and that was probably my ugly for the week is they kind of got the bad end of the draw again for the second year having the tournament there.
Bucks, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on what Gup was saying, they absolutely want that golf course playing firm and fast. Anytime you can attack a golf course like that where you can hit a 6-iron and fire at the flags with 0 run, that course is going to be taken advantage of. And we saw that again this year. So they fully built that golf course to have firm greens that aren't going to hold that 6-iron like normal. They built fairways that would run out potentially into these pot bunkers, long fescue rough. But the way that the course was this year with the rain that they had, it was just ripe for the getting, and it got. So my good, bad, and ugly this week was mediocre. I had a few decent pieces, but when you have CH3, Leishman as a core, it doesn't make for having the best opportunity to win a decent amount of cash. Even with that being said, I had 4K in, and even with that core, I still had 1,000 come back at me. So it wasn't a complete wash, but like Gut mentioned, it's just one of those things where, especially when you're playing nothing but GPPs, you are going to have cold streaks. Gup, myself, a ton of people, everybody in the industry will have player pools locked down and just get lineup construction wrong, get contest selection wrong. It's just one of those things. So,
and this will sound
winning any money last week feels like a victory.
Oh, I guess he's on delay. So I was just going to say that this would sound stupid, but I would rather have what I had last week and miss than hit like 8 of my 25 player pools and double up my money because it just means I just hit the nuts perfectly. Like it wasn't a great player pool. I just got lucky in the right contest. Now, I'll take the money every time. Don't get me wrong, but I would rather my process be right for the long term than to get lucky on getting a third of my pool right. So it's a give or take, and it depends on your bankroll and how you're running things. But I'm in my coldest streak maybe ever in DFS golf. But I've had great Buck sees everybody sees my player pool in the Slack. My player pools have been tremendous the last 6 weeks, and I can't find it all. So it's part of the process. It is what it is. But I want people to know that we go through it too. That it's not just you out there that go through cold streaks, and we certainly aren't hiding it by any means.
Yeah, but that's why bankroll management is so important.
Yeah, for me, I'll make it pretty easy. The good was the Rubies were pretty good this week. I had Gim and Straka in there. Lebiota was a little bit of a bust, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The bad was every contest I played was pretty bad. I didn't play a lot this week, obviously. Reason I missed last 2 podcasts is I've been fully entrenched in my current job right now, and so or my full time, obviously, but it was bad. Yeah, so I didn't play as much as I usually do, but it was bad. Ugly was it wasn't that ugly. I thought Spawn started out 5 under, gave me a little hope, and played even par from there on out. So I guess that's not that ugly, but that was all I had. I don't want to take up a lot of time because, like my research last week, I don't think I had enough time to really give you a good, bad, and ugly that would be representative. Do you guys have any of the big screenshots? I know some people hit really well last night. I know there was a guy that put $2 on. I can find that name, but he put $2 on Sun King to win at 110-1. Still pretty good return.
We had a lot of guys that
Yeah.
did really well. A lot of guys that Had one guy win a ticket to the 3100.
That's right. Yep.
A couple guys that came in second in Golf World Championship qualifiers. I mean, so the good news is that the rankings that Gup's putting out, the picks that we've been putting out are being used appropriately. They're being used well. They have a primary core regarding the guys that we've talked about on the pods and the rankings, and they're winning money, and it's because of lineup construction. And so it's awesome. It is literally my favorite part of the week is Sunday afternoons post tournament and seeing who's done what, who's won what. And a big shout out to all the guys that did happen to win money and donated to one of my good buddies whose son is not doing well. So thank you very much. But yes, we had a lot of people last night.
I do have some names now. Ryan Tompkins, he's won before, definitely. Yep. $1,300. Jack Thurman took home $2,500 on FanDuel. I have J.A. Fournier took a first place in a GPAP. I've got Mr. Cobra Pants, Marty Fiend.
Yep.
He tripled his money. So that's just about bankroll management there. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're tripling your money, it doesn't matter what you play at that point. Big winner was Mark Dill. He put in $100 on April 11th. He cashed out I'm adding it all up. It was around $500 now this week, but he's been going up every week. So. Oh, thank you. Yep. Josh Northcutt won the PME as well. So that was like $5K, right?
Yeah. And a huge shout out to him. He donated to the cause last night. So thank you.
Yep. Thanks for that, JB, as well. So let's get into the course preview this week at the PGA Championship at Bethpage. How about you take us away, Bucks?
Yeah, this was outside of maybe the Masters. This was probably the most enjoyable breakdown that I've done so far because of how much time or how long I was working on it. So I started this process, started the breakdown literally in January, and I'd gotten my hands on a caddy book from the 2002 U.S. Open that had a bunch of information about Bethpage and this and that. And so it was really cool to be able to work on this for such a long period of time because typically it's like a weekend type deal. So, but in doing that and having that longevity, you're able to look at so many different things and see how the course plays throughout the year and how, especially where it is in New York, see how the seasons affect the scoring conditions, the golf course, the course setup, what they're able to do to it. And so this year I believe that we're in for a treat. I don't know if you're going to see Bethpage ever be as green as it will be. I don't know if we'll ever see the rough at Bethpage be as thick as we're about to see it. But Bethpage State Park, the black course, 7,436 yards, and they're going to move that yardage around a bit during the event. They built a bunch of new tee boxes this past year, the last couple of years, so they're going to be able to move yardages around depending on the conditions. It is a par 70. They're playing the seventh, which is typically a 530-yard par 5, as a par 4 this year, and that's just going to be an absolute bear. Average fairway width is about 25 yards, so more narrow than tour average. The real issue is that not only is it narrow fairways, you only have about 4 feet of first cut, and it's only going to be, and even the first cut's going to be fairly thick. And then once you're past that 4-foot cut, you're going to get into the real thick stuff. It is POA at Bethpage. They experimented with bent grass a few years back, but with it being a public course, with it getting so much foot traffic on the year, bent really didn't hold up to not only the foot traffic, but the summer conditions that we see in the Northeast. So it's full POA. They've been rolling, and obviously this changes with the rain, but their plan leading up to the event, once the season started, they cut and roll them once a day, every single day at Bethpage, which is already crazy. Leading up to the event the last week, 2 weeks, their plan was to cut and roll it twice a day to get the POA ready for tournament type conditions. They weren't cutting it as short as they'll cut it for the event, but they were getting the grass ready to be able to withstand cutting it just a bit shorter. So from digging into all of this, I feel that we are going to see a really, really difficult golf course, especially when you miss the fairway. Much like last week, if you hit the fairway, I think this golf course can be had. I think you're going to see a lot of long irons. It's a long golf course. You have elevated greens. You have really visually intimidating tee shots. You have a lot of really steep face bunkers. Greens are a little bit smaller than tour average, but outside of the visually intimidating tee shots, you have some greens that are elevated, and then there's some greens you can't even see on your approach shot. And when you mix that with having fairly narrow fairways and then this thick rough, if you have a guy that misses 50% of his fairways, he's zero chance he's going to win. At Bethpage, you typically see a little bit higher than tour average in fairway hit percentage, but you see a dramatic decrease in the number of greens and regulations hit on average as well. So the guys here are only hitting something like 55% of their greens. They're hitting a fair number of fairways, and I think that will be even more this week because it's so soft. The guys that hit it long off the tee, I think, have a little bit of an advantage this week because the way that this golf course was designed with some dog legs, when it's rolling firm and fast, there are some angles off the tee that are hard to hold a fairway. And I think with this start or with this conditions this week, they'll be able to hold the fairway at a higher clip. But again, fairways are at a premium this week for sure, because if you miss it, it's going to be costing you strokes. So fairways, greens, your short game is going to be just vital. We already talked about it. On a normal round, you're missing more fairway or more greens here than an average course, which puts short game into play. But especially if you start seeing guys trickle into the rough in a little damp conditions where the ball's not quite reacting the way that you expect it to, you're going to see a lot of guys be in and around the greens and the bunkers struggling. So.
Thanks. Yeah. And if you want to check up a more extensive, obviously even longer version of that, which would be awesome. I think it's really important that you do that. Go to our website, gupscorner.com. There is a fantastic, lots of pages for that for you, Bucks. It was a lot of work putting that. So thank you for that. Weather concerns. Gup, what kind of weather concerns are we looking at? Because there's been a lot of rain there already. Just click off that unmute. Got
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. I was watching the live show, PGA Live. I was at the gym before this, which it was pouring. But, and what I text my buddy that, has some National Weather Service access. It actually looks like it's going to cool, or the rain part's not going to be as strong as what most were thinking, maybe even 24, 36 hours ago. After tonight and maybe briefly in the morning, it pretty much looks like it's done till maybe Friday. Now, as of now, we're sitting here Monday night. There looks to be a potential, AM, PM favorite on if you're talking about splits. Way early to get into that or to say that, but Friday, but it could be wet enough Friday morning that they just pushed it out. So, that's always risky, with it already being so wet as it is. But other than that, the rain's kind of moving away from this place, at least current models. He ran a last 12-hour model for me about 30 minutes ago, and he said after tomorrow mid-morning, other than Friday morning, which is still there, the weekend's going to be great. Wednesday's going to be great. Thursday's going to be great. So I think it's a lot different than what some were saying even 12 to 24 hours ago as far as during tournament, and more importantly for new guys and guys that are not around here or that haven't seen the course set up like this, getting the practice in tomorrow and Wednesday, I think now becomes that they should be able to get a lot more of that practice in. So I think it changes the narrative just a hair, but I haven't listened to much in the industry to know what it was going into tonight, but that's my take on the weather right now.
Yeah, we will update everybody, obviously, as the week goes on in the Slack, E9. Once we get closer, that'll be a better update there. Let's look into what kind of stats we're looking at this week in our models. Let's start with you, Bucks. What kind of stats are you looking at this week?
Yeah, and this goes into what I was talking about with the breakdown, which, as Ruvy, you mentioned, you can go to the site, check it out, because the 5 minutes I talked about it doesn't equate to the 50 pages it is on the actual site. And that breakdown is going to be really nice, not only from a DFS perspective, from a viewing perspective. You can see each of the holes, know exactly what they look like, that kind of thing. So definitely check that out. But from a stat perspective, knowing how the course is potentially going to play out with it being longer, softer, the rough being that thick, I think that it puts a premium on hitting fairways, obviously. And I already think that these fairways get hit at a decent clip. They are narrow, but with them being pretty soft, I think they'll get hit. With understanding that, I think that you need to make sure that you have a guy that has a solid short game. Even if you hit a large number of fairways. So let's take it back a second. So we've talked about this on a couple pods now. Hitting it out of the rough versus hitting it out of the fairway, you have to have a 30-yard advantage to have the same greens and regulation percentage. So 200 yards out of the fairway versus 170 out of the rough, that 30-yard difference will have the same GIR percentage. At Bethpage, I think it's even more of a difference because of how thick and nasty this rough is going to be. And so I would much rather have a guy 200 yards in the fairway than 165 out of this rough. With that being said, these greens are still hard to hit. And so I want a guy that has a good mix. So total driving is really important. I want a guy that hits greens at a decent clip, but my big focus this week is going to be on short game. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of holes here where you're hitting long irons into a 7,500-yard par 70, one of the longest courses they'll play all year. So the long irons are key. But again, they're going to miss a lot of greens. And so I want a guy that can scramble well. And a big focus for me is going to be that short game, putting inside 15 feet, because they're going to have a lot of par savers. You have a guy like Kiradek last week that was at one point like 59 of 59 putts inside 10 feet. It's going to be a performance like that this week that gets somebody into contention and potentially winning this event.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah, some of the same. I do think how we see the course over the next 2 days will matter, a little bit to see. I expect them to cut down the rough just a little bit from where it is. I think they haven't been able to recently. When I say recently, last 2 or 3 days, because of the wetness. So people are seeing it this morning or saw shots of Tiger playing. They think that's how it's going to be. I don't think it'll be that thick. I think they'll come down some by Thursday. Having said that, I do agree with Bucks on, which also you can go the other side. The side he said I 100% agree with, 200 in the fairway over 170 in the rough. But when you get guys like the elite guys, Brooks, DJ, Rahm, if there are ways where they can get 155 in the rough as opposed to 190 in the fairway, those caliber of guys, that's a different story. So just to generalize, so people understand that there's a difference in the level of player you're talking about. And for the majority of us, you have to decide up top pretty quick, and then the bulk of your research and decisions goes into that middle, that core. And that's where these numbers really come in, because you have to look at the guys you're looking at to say, how do they play out of the rough? How do they play in the fairways? What's their strength and weaknesses? These elite guys are elite, and you just have to kind of pick which one you're going to go with. And they're that way for a reason. It doesn't do justice either. Bucks will be humble on, I read his breakdown every week, and a lot of people do. But, this week, especially the in-depth of the holes, if you take time to kind of, which I do already each week, is kind of figure out how the course is going to play. But when you get to see the holes like that and kind of look at, I learned the game of golf on a Tilly course. My home course in Tulsa was a Tillinghast. So I definitely understand how he builds and how he thinks. And short game is, probably the most important. But it also, if and Bucks does a good job in the article talking about the holes that you want to take a risk on, he's going to punish you if you don't make it, right? And that's going to be key for some of these guys. It's a risk reward for a guy like Rahm, right? Rahm's going to be up there in a lot of people's models. We're going to probably talk about it in a little bit. He could like to take it, and if he's on, and he could actually be rewarded by it. But the temperament that we talk about could be Tillinghast is a thinkful type of game when you play the course. It's not a grip and rip by any means. And so you may hear a lot in the industry, bombers. They'll have an advantage, but if they're not a thinking style of player, a strategic type of guy around the course, it could get them in trouble. If they just grip and rip it, I think they're going to struggle some. I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't know if Buck's really said it yet. I see probably 6-7 under winning it, maybe. If the rain does go away, it could approach double digit. I don't necessarily see that. If it rains more than what we think, you could be around that -2-3 number, but I'm going to go with like 6 or 7.
I see it around 6.
Yeah, so
I see it around 6 because I think there'll be a guy like a Brooks or DJ or Rory that hit like 85% of their fairways one day and go low.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And so I like approach and I like ball striking, which I do every week. I think how you gauge and what you look at on the off the tee, whether it's off the tee, good drives, fairways gained, driving distance, however you measure that or blend it. The one thing I would say is be very cognitive of what rounds you're looking at when you're looking at those guys, because those off the tee numbers can be, deceptive depending on what courses those guys are at. If they're at a course where they don't have to think off the tee box and you're using those type of numbers, it could deceive you from a guy. So off the tee is very important. And then the last thing I'm looking at, the two big things are around the green and bogey avoidance. Bogey avoidance mainly because you see 6 or 7 under. So that's kind of where I'm at this week.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to add to that. You guys kind of covered it all. So let's just get straight into. I guess I did add double bogey avoidance just because it being a major. So I added that a little bit as well, but that goes into bogey avoidance. That being said, I think that Scott Piercy, given his round this last week, to your point, Gup, you need to look at which round. He's going to pop up in a lot of people's models because he went 4 rounds without a bogey. So he might pop up in a lot of people's models, and I don't know if that's the play you want, but
which is absurd, by the way. The fact that Scott Piercy went 4 straight – it doesn't even matter, Scott Piercy. Anybody going 4 straight rounds of golf on PGA Tour without a bogey is unbelievable. Like, DraftKings should make him the automatic winner on their site for doing that because it's unheard of. I think that – I don't know, somebody tweeted about it. Like, the last time somebody went 4 straight rounds without a bogey and hit that percentage of fairways was like in 1974. Like, historic golf being played, and he didn't even win.
So the odds that he bogeys the first hole, what is that odds?
1,000%.
Yeah. But that was just a reference point pointing out to Gup's point. You got to look at the rounds, and obviously the fairways were a little easier to hit in Byron Nelson than they will be here.
Yeah.
Let's get into this week's then locks, flocks, and flops. Brought to you by AmpCaddy. Go to ampcaddy.com. Type in the promo code SMASH. Get $20 off your next AmpCaddy. Bucks, lead us off. Who's your lock of the week?
So pricing came out pretty early this time for the PGA, which was awesome. But it let me noodle these guys for a long time. Rory was my initial go-to, but after digging into it and looking at the golf course and digging into the trends and putting and everything, for me, my lock this week is going to be DJ because of short game stats. That was the difference maker. I think Rory is elite off the tee. Nobody can argue that. DJ is awesome as well, but DJ is a better short-range putter. Historically has had a better short game. Like I said, both are elite. Both hit their long irons well, but I think DJ's game, and that's hard to say considering how good Rory's played, I think DJ's game is better suited for this golf course.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah, this was even into last night, kind of flipping back and forth. Now that, we really hadn't even said it, but, JT withdrew today, which was high on my mind and my model originally, was going to be my lock in the sense of I thought the injury was probably more healed than obviously what it is now that he's withdrawn. And I thought with everybody around here, he would be massively, massively underowned. And everybody knows I'm not really a JT guy, so you kind of zig when they zag type of deal. All four of these guys, not in order this time, but close, are number 1 through 4 in my new rankings that'll come out tonight. Brooks played well last week. This will really come down to an ownership deal. And then more importantly, which we'll get into Tuesday and Wednesday, is I think your decision up here really matters on the type of contest you're entering. You got to know whether you're in a $100 single compared to the Millie Maker compared to whatever, because I think that leverage and stuff up here is going to matter. My guy is DJ as well. He's number 1 in the model. With a comma pause that if what I think will happen and Tiger may or may not get talked up, but could wind up being lower owned than what the perception is, I certainly don't mind playing Tiger here. He's 3rd in my final model, which he moved up a lot over the weekend. The tiebreaker for me was that I really like the comparison of Valsparta here to an extent, and DJ finished 6th there, played well there. And, maybe there's a little bit of people that got burned by DJ at RBC with his disaster Sunday round. And I think Brooks finishing like he did is going to be high on people's minds, and Rory's always a popular play. I actually hope DJ is coming in under owned because you guys know the rule. And if you're going to give me him under 15% in a major, I may hit the lock button, which I never do, and go 100%. I don't mind doing that with him here. So
to your point, Gup, this is – so everybody's aware, in like the 444, the 555, any of the higher dollar contests, Rory is always the favorite. It doesn't matter how bad he's playing. Rory is always the highest owned guy in the 10K range, no matter what. And so that, again, had me thinking about it as well. And another reason why I went to DJ.
Yeah. And Tiger typically is probably 4 to 6% less up there than he is in like a Millie Maker. Sometimes he's not, but this could be a week where Tiger could be 20% in a Millie and be 14, 15 up in one of those. So that's why it matters.
Is this the first time? And I don't know. Is this the first time? When's the last time Tiger was first, like number 1, highest owned or highest priced guy?
Probably back.
No, I think this is the first time. I don't know.
I was going to ask, like, has he ever?
Maybe right at the beginning. If back there in 15, he was still a little bit relevant. But I wasn't really. I was just getting into the game mid 15, late 15. So if then that was it. But if not, definitely Tiger version 18, whatever we're on. From 2016 to now, this is the first time for sure. If there was a time, it would have been one tournament back in 2015, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been talking about it. My lock is actually Tiger. I'm going to go with Tiger.
Hate on it.
The first time that he hasn't played a tournament, I think, in between majors since 2008 when he won the U.S. Open. So I think that's I don't think that's relevant necessarily, but I think
been
that
there for 3 weeks now. Parked that boat a couple weeks ago.
He's been playing every day, so I like Tiger a lot. I do like those guys that you mentioned as well, and it's hard that we haven't mentioned Brooks much, but like, is there been a better major player, right? Besides, I don't know, Brooks in the last 2 years, right? But the last 2 years, Brooks has been better than Tiger. He beat him last year.
My only deal with Brooks, and it's hard to look at stats because he doesn't pop very well in stats, if you want to call it that. But I'll be interested. I mean, this is going to be a tough scoring course, and I don't see someone like that running away with it. But out of the top four, to me, he's got, sometimes the weaker kind of approach game, depending on what club's in his hand. I don't know if he was tired last week or what. I was very surprised once he climbed back up and got to either within one on Sunday. He didn't put the charge on. He just kind of faulted away. Ownership's going to dictate a lot.
6 under on the day at one point.
Yeah,
he just couldn't get over the hump, right?
Yeah.
Like last 6 holes, I think he played even or something like that. But you can play any of these guys, and there's no you're splitting hairs trying to decide. Good bet. I mean, there's none up here I would hate anybody for playing by any means.
Yeah, then let's get into the more important probably model, our flux area. So Gup, why don't you lead us off with your core group of guys between 7K and 9,500?
Yeah, and I had several, narrowed it down a little bit, probably not enough for the pod. Definitely will be something I key in on. Normally we do like 3. I think there's like 160 guys in this field. I know there's like 30 you can just X off, but it's a big field. 6 of 6 could be hard to come by. We'll see. My first guy, and he's not a guy that I've been on necessarily all year. I played him at times, definitely not as much as Bucks, but he's still right there. His Kokrak.
Yeah, boy.
Still. I mean, any kind of stat model you run, if it's a recent one, he's got to pop. There's no other way. Tournament history, done okay. He's made the cut the last 3 years at the PGA Championship, which surprised me. I didn't realize that he had done that well. So it kind of a little boost in the model there. The next guy's a guy I was on last week. I think most people passed and then hope for this week a little bit. But when you talk about hitting fairways, great iron play, can be that 190 in the fairway. And if he can just get a putter going, can play. And at 7,900 is a great price of Stinson. I think he can play that 3-wood out, and he don't mind being a little farther back, but he's going to, if he hits more fairways than everybody else and has a chance to hit some greens. And
absolutely,
you get into that. I mean, this is where it's important to know that I'm aiming guys around a 6, 7, 8, 9 under type of scoring, which is you have to avoid the big numbers and grind out 2 birdies a day and you're 8 under, right? If you avoid bogeys. So it's a mindset deal. If this thing turns into a 16 under type deal, I mean, my pool probably would be shot. I really don't see that playing out in any shape or way. But, the next 2 that I had are really close in my model, really close overall. Both have their weaknesses, both have their strengths, and they're close in price. And it's Cantley and Matsu. I love both of them. Their core, they'll probably both be in my core. That's why I couldn't leave them out. 8,200, 8,500. If, and I had a guy earlier kind of going back and forth with me. He was like, you love Matsu. You always bet him. You always play him. And I was like, and he comes out second in the model. I'm like, it's hard to find a better player, period, tee to green in the game. The dude just can't find a putter, right? And so the reason why he gets even more of a bump from me this week is he doesn't have to go 16, 17 under. He doesn't have to putt great. He just got to be average. If he gains a half a stroke putting, he wins this thing, which will be a miracle. He probably won't, but I'm praying for only lose 1 stroke, Matt. So we may have a chance at this, but I've never seen somebody be as great with ball striking and around the course and absolutely garbage with the putter. So at 8,500, I think for the talent he has, he should be closer up with the bigger guys. He just can't putt. So I'll take him and Cantley. I have another one, but I think one of you guys will get him. And if not, I'll hit him in the round table. So go ahead.
Bucks, how about it?
Yeah, for me, this range is just loaded. I think you can build your entire team under kind of 9K, even 8,500, and probably contend. But I can only give you 3, so it's going to be Paul Casey, Henrik Stenson, Gary Woodland. Casey, top 10 in both total driving and ball striking this year. And when you look at his rolling report, he is really coming on strong right now. So trending in the right direction. He has 2 missed cuts in his last 10 events. But outside of those 2 missed cuts, he has 8 top 25s and like 6 top 10s. So he's kind of like feast or famine. And I fully expect him to play well. So I think his game is suited for this golf course. Stenson, I've been on all year for the U.S. Open. And I think this is the same type of fit as Pebble. So narrow fairways, although Pebble is going to be a shorter golf course. That's the only thing that concerns me is I think some of that accuracy advantage is taken away by these soft fairways. But with that being said, I still like Stenson to hit 80% of his fairways, which, as Gut mentioned, if he hits 80% of his fairways with the way he hits his irons, he's not going to make too many bogeys. And his short game is decent enough to at least have 60+% up and down rate. And so if Stenson can hit the fairways like he has been with that 3-wood, I like Stenson to contend here as well. Like I mentioned before, the last guy that I talked about was Gary Woodland. When I first reviewed Bethpage, he was the first guy that came to mind. When I think of total driving, so a mix of accuracy and distance, he is that guy for me. He's always top 5 in that category. He's long off the tee. He's fairly accurate. He's a solid iron player. The issue with Gary is his short putting, his 5-foot, 10-foot, 15-foot putts. He struggles with those, and he has historically. I like him this week to hit a lot of greens, more so than the average player. I am hoping that he has an average putting week. And if he does that, I think he can top 25, something like that. If he has a good putting week inside 15 feet, I think Gary can contend without a doubt. He is really good off the tee. He's going to put himself in solid position. So we'll just wait and see. But Casey, Stenson, Woodland.
I as well have Stenson. The next guy that I wanted to chat with, because you guys covered him, was actually, this kind of might be a little bit off the radar, I'd say, but Joel Damon, 7,300. Joel Damon's been playing some very, very good golf as of late, obviously with his runner-up. And the last guy, I think it could be his time maybe, and that's Ricky Fowler. I'm not obviously the biggest Ricky Fowler guy in the past, but I love this course for Ricky Fowler. I think that he could play well, and he competes at majors. He just can't win one. So at 9,300, I feel like I'm getting a price break from a lot of guys. The only other guy that I would probably mention, and I mentioned this to you before, Bucks, was Keegan. He just hasn't been playing great lately, but this seems like a good course for a former PGA champion that's playing well
Also
this year.
Solid off the tee. Yes.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. Let's get into our flops of the week. Gup, I'm going to go right back to you on this one. You're pretty good at this usually. I'm not that great at this, but give us your flops of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give 2 because the first one's just too easy, and it's Spieth. And I hope, I mean, I don't know if people watched last week, they would know that. I don't want to say his game was smoke and mirrors, but he's going to miss fairways here, and it's going to hurt him. And 8,600 is way too much for what his potential is out here. Plus, I think he got paired with, was it DJ
and Rom?
Yeah, that's not the greatest. He's going to hit first every time. Yeah, I don't like the course setup for Spieth at all. There, a prime Spieth, 2015. This course, if he's hitting fairways in the short game and being able to putt, this would normally, and he only has to go 7 or 8 low, be his kind of track, but I can't trust his tee game per se right now. And there's so much other value around there that I like that I'll let others have him. Probably in the ballpark even this week. If he shows up 5-7%, I don't even think I would touch him then.
No, you can't.
Just know the next one's probably going to be a little bit of a surprise. And I know I'm going to be on a big island here. And I have felt this way Friday, and then I kind of thought about it over the weekend, looked at new stuff, tried to talk myself out of it. Already seen a lot of people on him. And I don't know why, I probably just gut more than anything, but and this will probably be a hard fade for me. Kind of one of those third or fourth time this year, I'm going to take a stand against the public. And it's Schauffele. There's a lot there that I don't like this week. And it's more of just a pivot play. You got to make some choices up here to differentiate yourself, especially in like something like the Millie Maker. I think he's going to be a popular choice this week, and there's other places I'd rather go and take my chances and kind of stay away from that potential chalk-ish, I guess, at 9,100. So I'm going to fade Xander, and I think he may not return his value.
Bucks, how about you, big guy?
Yeah, for me, I'll give 3 because Spieth was automatic. Automatic. So I think that Spieth being at his price. I mean, even if it's not at his price, I mean, he's just not playing good. I can't believe that he's priced that way. Molinari is the one that I'm going to be fading this week. And again, it is mainly a price thing, but also when I look at the guys surrounding him and what I think it's going to take to win this event, Molinari, when you look into his stats, is not that long off the tee, and he's not that accurate. And that's a really bad combination here. Can he contend? Have we seen him be elite, like elite? Yeah, absolutely. But for his price, when you look at Justin Rose, Rory, a bunch of people around that price, I think other people's games are suited to take on Bethpage compared to Molinari. So I'll be fading him. The second one, or the third one, I guess, technically, is more of a personal gut play, and that's Bubba. I just can't imagine having him on my squad and tilting over every 6-footer that he misses and whines and cries about it. Bethpage is going to be a very tilting golf course to players, especially when they miss the fairway, miss greens. And Bubba and his mindset is not the guy that I can see mentally dominating this golf course.
Yeah, my first one, I kind of put a little teaser out on Twitter, is going to be a lot of people's favorite golfer as of this year, but Keith Mitchell. That's a hard fade for me. Keith is a much better Bermuda player. We've obviously come to know that. And this is back on POA, where Keith is not going to gain any strokes putting, I don't believe. So if he doesn't do that, I think he'll have a tough time on the greens here. So Keith Mitchell is a hard fade for me. The next one is I think he finished well here in the past, but he's obviously older, and he sprays it off the tee. He's ranked 92nd in my model last 12 rounds. He's been pretty poor. Phil Mickelson. Lefty is his off the tee numbers have been very, very poor, and his tee to green has even been very, very poor as of late. And he's losing strokes putting in each of his last 4 tournaments, not including the Masters. So that's not a good sign. So I'll be off Phil. Yeah. Let's get to the sleeper of the week. We all had a pretty good leak last week, the sleeper. But give me the one guy you're thinking under 7K that think you'll return your value. Gup, why don't you lead us off again?
Yeah, there's a couple that I like. They're right next to each other. I will say a couple things. One is between all of our content, and then especially as we get into Wednesday, I'll be focusing in on some of the Euros that I like as I deep dive. Tomorrow the deep dive will come out, and I'll try to highlight where I think those guys would fit in a model. If you're new to Gup's Corner or the pod or whatever, all of my rankings are model driven, which means they're database driven. I guide the database, but I don't manually adjust anything. So they're pure numbers. They are what they are, which means guys that have been on the web a lot lately or Euro don't have a lot of the statistics in there that allow them to be justified where they probably should be. So I have to do manual adjustments. Typically, it's not as big of a deal as what it could be this week. I think there's some pretty good talent that's coming in pretty good form when you look at the Euro side. EVR, Surrey, those guys are going to be all in play here. And so I'll try to gauge where I think they could be a potential play for me. And they're going to be down in that sleeper kind of range. Most of them are under 7K. But for the guys that I do have good data on, I like the two that I like under 7K for the week is Russell Knox and Corey Connors. I like both of them. They're right there with each other.
Connors be popping this week.
Yeah, I watched him at Valero. Connor, I like Knox a little more consistency a tad. Connors is like hit or miss. Connor could top 10 this thing or like miss the cut bad. He seems to be a streaky player. But if he's on this course, he struggles around the green a little bit, but the other facets of his game, this kind of suits him. So I really think he could play well here and be fired up to try to win his first major. So those are kind of the two early that I really like under the 7K price.
Bucks, take it away.
Yeah, for me, I'm waiting for your article, Ruvy, because you typically kill this range in a good way. But
I got you.
A lot of people talking about Surrey this week, which I like Surrey, but if he's going to be super, super, super popular, there are several other guys that I really like down here. One is going to be Adam Hadwin. When you look at his stats from let's say the last 24 rounds, frankly, he looks like garbage. He has been solid off the tee, but really, really bad with his iron play, really bad around the greens. And typically he's that guy. He's the guy that is a solid iron player. But when you dig in a little bit, Adam Hadwin is trending in the right direction. He's finished well his last few events. And when you look at his courses that he has played well on this year, he's played well at Riviera, played well at Pebble, played well at Quail. Three of the hardest courses that you'll see in this beginning stretch of the year. So I think that Adam Hadwin is rounding in the form. I think it's $6,500. He's going to be really good value, especially if he can find his irons. He's going to hit a lot of fairways, but if he can find his irons, I really like Adam Hadwin this week.
Yeah, the first one I really like, and I was a proponent of this guy might not get it back a couple months ago, but Kyle Stanley has been playing some extremely well golf. He is a very good iron player.
He was my second one.
Yeah, if he can get going, Kyle Stanley is a very interesting one.
What was his last finish? 16th, I think?
I think he got somewhere like that. I've got it right here. He finished 8th at the Wells Fargo.
8th. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and his approach game he found his approach game again. He finished 21st at the Masters as well. But the other one that I am assuming is popping in everybody's model, and I want to monitor him as we go on here, is definitely going to be Scott Piercy. I mentioned it earlier, but this dude's approach game, albeit different courses, but is on fire right now. I mean, 7.2 at the Heritage he gained and 6.7 at the Byron Nelson. His tee to green game is unbelievable as well. So, and he's somehow making putts. So that's something to monitor. But I'm going to monitor his ownership and see where we go. But definitely Kyle Stanley for me. All right, let's get into some head-to-head picks. Some of these we probably are going to be easy answers because we've already talked about some of them. But
yes,
let's go first. Bucks, I'm going to lead the first one off with you. Rose or Molinari?
Rose, 1,000% Rose.
Figured that one. Gup, do you have any different on that?
No, Rose. I'm
Yep.
off Molinari as well this week.
Yep, I'm the same there as well. This is an interesting one. A lot of favorites in this next one. Rahm or Fleetwood? Gup?
Close, but I'd go Rom.
Bucks?
Yeah, this is tough, but I do like Rom's short game.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm gonna
can't go
Rahm.
against Rahm. You know that. So we'll just go on from there. Two guys that we haven't really talked about. Maybe we will a little bit here, but Bryson or Kuchar? Bucks.
This is so hard because I really like both of these guys this week. Man, I'd have to go Kuchar right now. It's so tough. I have both of these guys rostered right now, though.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah, I'd lean Kuchar. I do think that Bryson's probably going to come in low on a lot of people's stat models.
GPP Bryson, cash game.
Yeah, because people. I mean, when you pull his last stats, he just hadn't been playing very well. But if you went back 6 months, this place should set up well for his game when it's in prime. So it's kind of those. Does he get it right here? I don't know. He hadn't played since RBC where he missed the cut. Did good at the Masters, but for a cash game for sure. And I don't do cash. I'd go Kuchar. I think he's pretty safe to make the cut, but I go Kuchar barely on that one.
And Gup, I'm gonna go right back to you on this one since we already know what Buck's answer is going to be on this one. But Patrick Reed versus Paul Casey.
Casey, Casey's in my round table. Yep.
Cool. How about this is an interesting one. We haven't really mentioned much of these guys, and I've heard a lot of talk about one of them. But Adam Scott versus Sergio.
Sergio was going to be in my round table, but I'll talk about him now. I really like Sergio this week. I think his pricing is crazy. Or egregious, whatever you want to hear. I think that he should be mid-eights with the way he's starting to play. And the dude's played here 3 times at Bethpage. All 3 times he's top 10. He knows the course. Obviously, it's a little bit different week, different setup, but he obviously likes the way that this course is set up visually because he's played well here every single time. So I'm going Sergio.
Gup?
Yeah, I'll go Sergio as well.
I will lean Adam Scott, actually. Adam Scott's played well here before, I think, too. So, but I do like both.
Yeah, GPP wise, I'd go Scott because Garcia is going to be very high owned.
He might be the highest owned guy of the entire slate.
He might be. Yep. We know where I sit on this one, but we'll lead off with you, Gup. Mitchell versus Glover.
Glover, he's a round table, and I have something on Mitchell as well later, but I'll take Glover.
Cool. Bucks?
I would go Glover as well.
I'm obviously the same there. We know where I sit on this one as well, but Damon versus RCB. Yep.
This one's a lot closer. RCB can make birdies with the best of them. He does have a tendency to bogey. I do think a tournament like this does favor him where he doesn't have to think of getting 17 more birdies than bogeys because that's hard for him. Very close on both these. I like them both, but I'd go RCB right now.
Bucks?
Yeah, this is tough, but one guy that I wanted to mention in the roundtable was Dahmen, so I'm going to go him.
Okay. Let's go with – this is an interesting one. We got a young gun versus an older guy. Peters versus Perez.
Peters may snap every club in his bag by the end of the week.
He might.
So, I'm going to go Perez.
Gup?
Yeah, I'm going to go Peters. I actually I like him a lot this week. I think he has potential to top 10 and kind of be a huge sleeper per se this week, and especially being 7,000.
Pricing is solid.
Yeah, he's on my target for sure.
I think that Peters can make more birdies here, so I would probably go Peters as well. But I love me some Patty P. We know where I sit on this one, but Pepperell versus Stanley. Gup, why don't you leave this last one off?
Yeah, I think this is the points you made were dead on. I did have him as a round table, kind of scratch it because you covered most of it. Pepperell's one that'll be in the Euro conversation to kind of talk about. I like his tenacity, I guess is the way to put it. He's obviously a Twitter, DFS golf god. Everybody kind of likes following him. He speaks his mind. I would go him just in the sense that, just doesn't – I don't think the moment will be too big for him if he's in contention late, and so I wouldn't mind going with him. But I don't mind – I mean, Stanley's can definitely be in play here, but I'd go Pep.
Bucks?
Stanley. I like Stanley a lot this week.
Gup, well, then why don't you just get right to it? You can cover anybody else because you might cover it in a different angle than I did or Bucks did. Why don't you lead us off with your roundtable guy, 2 to 3 guys that haven't really been talked up that maybe you want to mention?
Yeah, and more of discussion and kind of see, where everybody else is. Rom was one. He actually fits in the flock category, being 9,500. I think depending on where you start your build, I think he can be in play this week. I like him. I like tournaments that he doesn't have to, go real low, can grind out. Similar how he, was at Torrey. I've heard some compare Torrey just because of length type here. We know link's not really an issue for him. He's similar to Brooks, can be, not as sharp with the approach shots at times, so it worries me a little bit. But I don't mind him. Casey is a guy that I am absolutely never on, but I think I will be this week. Most people, will have, the bitter taste of the Masters last major, just absolute terrible. But then he came back and played very well at Wells Fargo. We know his ball striking's elite. He's really good off the tee as far as the things we're looking at. Not the longest, but can put it in play and very accurate. At 8,300, I will like to see where he steams up by Wednesday. I'm not going to play a chalky Casey. I'm probably not going to play a chalky anybody. This is just too hard of a course, a track, too many conditions. And I'm going to get into this on my final thoughts on Wednesday, that people look at ownership, and I don't know if they put it in perspective. It's not about, Rory's 22% and Brooks is 18%. Oh God, I gotta go Brooks. Well, I mean, fuck, if you're doing 100 lineups, that's only 18 compared to 22 lineups. It's not that big of a fucking difference. So it's really about how much leverage are you willing to go in on the guys you like that. Because if you put 22 lineups on Rory, well, a big whoopee. Now you're even with some guys, but you're probably behind the majority, and now you have to differentiate yourself elsewhere anyways. So it's really about loving a person or a play enough to, go 20%, 40% over that percentage to get your leverage on the field, and then to have the multiples underneath it, to spread your construction out, which is something we kind of teach and preach and all that behind the scenes. But, it's important that people understand that you can't live and die by ownership, and especially whether you're the best at predicting it or not. I'm decent at it. Ruvy's decent at it. Fanshare has good models. They have tags. But you can't live and die and make your decisions on a lineup off of a number that may not even be the actual number. We've seen it flip 3 or 4 or 5 or 6% in any given week on predictions, and now you made a decision on something that wasn't really a true number. So and Bucks goes back into the school of, play the guys you like for the most part, and if you believe in them, don't let something take you off of that. And this is a week where I think you have to do that. You just have to believe in who you like. But if I'm seeing guys that are just like okay for me, they're kind of like my mid-grade guys, and they're going to become steamed up, I'm not going to go overweight on those guys just to gain my leverage on a guy I wasn't really on anyway. So I think that's important. Guys like, the other guys I kind of had marked, you guys mentioned a lot of. I like Glover this week. I think I never seem to get him right. So if I wind up on him, you may want to get off. But everything that I look at and kind of deep dive a little bit in last night continues to be there. A good $7,300 price. Adam Scott is there for me. You mentioned him. I have no issues with him. One guy I don't think anybody's mentioned, I even flirted with him in the betting, we'll get to in a little bit, is Vegas. I think, his game has gotten a lot better. I think he was the one that got one of those mental kind of coaches, or changed something in his routine as well recently, that he's 17th overall. 17th in my stock, 22nd overall. Got a T8 at Wells Fargo. Playing really well and definitely can put it out there. If he can get it in the fairway, he's going to have a pretty good chance to be in competition. And at 7,100, you're just looking for a cut maker at that point. Probably the last guy that I don't think any of us has mentioned, I'm just going to mention him and hear your guys' thoughts, is Finau. Where are you at on him this week? And what I would have thought a month ago, we would have thought he may be one of the highest owned. He's traditionally one of the highest owned in DFS. Where is he set this week with you guys?
Bucks, why don't you take that?
Yeah, he's one that I've been wrestling with and I'm still on the fence about. I think that it all comes down to short game. He's been struggling a bit. But from off the tee standpoint, from a green and regulation standpoint, I think he's going to gain strokes on the field this week. It's all about whether I believe he's going to have his short game and flat stick back that up. And I'm still on the fence about it, honestly.
Do you let me ask this question. Do you put him in the class, not necessarily elite, Rory, DJ, but is he in a guy close enough that can show up on a week and have it together and go and not have to lead up to, having a good, be on a good run going in the tournament? Is he a guy that, because, like DJ, no matter how bad he's playing, he can show up any week and win it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we're quite there yet, but do you think he's close enough that he can show up and be on?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on a golf course that's going to be set up like this, where off the tee, it's really going to be target golf. Pick a line. Here's your distance you want to hit it. It's going to land and stop. There's very little concern about, okay, it's going to land here. It's going to run out here. You can't hit it on this line. You can hit it on this line. They're going to have a 25-yard wide plus target area, and they're going to say you need to carry this ball 290, 300, 305, whatever. And if you do that, you're fine. And he's solid off the tee. And so just knowing and understanding his game a bit, and understanding who he was previously, playing all those money games back in the day, just showing up and randomly playing. Yeah, absolutely. I think he can show up, contend. It all comes down to where he's at around the greens, though.
I would have a little bit different opinion, I guess, in that aspect where I never get feet out right. So my opinion on Finau is probably null and void, but I don't think he can just show up. I think he needs everything to go clicking to win. Now, he can contend on any given day.
Well, sure, yeah. When's the last time the dude won?
He hasn't won since the Puerto Rico Open. That's my point. So, I'm obviously you want a winner, right? Not just a winner. You want someone that's going to score. I get it. I don't see him in that elite level like that. And not the elite level. I don't even know if I consider him a second tier level. I consider Ricky much more capable of doing it at this point, because at least Ricky's won 5 times on tour, not the Puerto Rico Open.
Yeah, but I have Ricky up in that just maybe underneath the elite.
I agree with that.
I think for the 8,800, Finau definitely can return his value. To me, it's going to be an ownership. He's traditionally very high owned.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering where, if I can finally get a lower owned Finau, and I do think he has the game to show up in top 20, which would almost,
for sure.
I think he'll be low owned because I think he's in a weird price range. You got a lot of guys in the high 9s, 10s that are going to have to go immediately to Stenson, Sergio, or a Casey at 8,300 and save the $500. I think he's in this dead zone.
And to your point, Gup, he'll probably go low owned because models are not showing very well for him because they're not counting Masters in on Fantasy National, remember? So the rest of his tournaments haven't been good.
Yeah, that and you got Cantley and Matsu. He's in an awkward place where he doesn't normally. He just stands out as an auto play, and he doesn't. He doesn't this week. So I find it interesting to go. Okay, is this? Is this a zig when they zag type of moment? And I haven't heard him much yet. So I have a bet on him obviously because I bet it back in December. So I'm not, which is fine. That could be my exposure for the week, and I'm good with it. But I find it interesting because normally I'm auto fade of him because normally he's talked up to 25+%, and frankly, besides Brooks, he may have the best Masters run in the last 6-8 not Masters, majors.
I would put Xander ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't.
You're right.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's got to be top 3 or 4. He's top 5.
You're right, though. Yeah, for sure.
So, he steps up in game time. He T5'd at the Masters again, which I think is like his 5th straight major to be definitely top 10. So, He's there. He's going to be interesting talk and a follow for me on the week. Is why I had him marked on the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're actually right. He's better. He's been better than Xander. Xander was good 2 of the 4 last year.
Molinari is probably. I mean, damn, he's there, but I just
Yeah.
can't. I can't do Molinari this week. But I don't get him right ever, so I just move on.
Look, Bucks, how about you? Any other guys?
Yeah, got mentioned a couple of them. I'll just mention real quick. I think that Rose is being kind of overlooked with so many high elite guys up there in the tens. But Rose at 9,900 is awesome. Like super, super value there. Even at 9,900, I think that's a value play. Rose has 3 top tens in his last 4 events, something like that. Guy is finding it, clicking. And so I really, really like Rose at his price this week for sure. But that's all I had. Gup mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too long as well. The one guy that we didn't mention at all really is because he's probably like one of everybody's least favorites because he likes to withdraw, and that's Jason Day. I personally really, really like Jason Day a lot this week. Quietly having a very good year if when he's not withdrawing. Since the Tournament of Champions, he has 2 tournaments outside the top 10, not including his one miscut at the Valspar. But he's got a 5th at the Farmers, 4th at the Pebble Beach, 8th at the Players, 5th at the Masters. So the dude's playing well. And if you have to trust anybody to make a 6-footer for par, he's got to be near the top of the list, right? So
he's in play for me this week, which normally he's another guy. Casey and him are guys I'm off of normally, but he's definitely, especially if he starts floating around that 10% or less on ownership. I don't mind going there at all.
So that's what I wanted to mention him real quick, but I do really like Jason Day. Let's get into this week's betting strategy. Gup, you've got a couple plays, and I know you're not going to give out all of them if you want to get all of Gup's plays because they're probably haven't all been finalized, but please join gupscorner.com. Use that promo code that we gave out earlier. Get that 25% off. 40 to 1 and below. Who do you like, Gup?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year and kind of probably for the community as well. And I've listened to obviously most of our, partners and people were on, and I'll be on with Mayo tomorrow. Always enjoy that. But, I haven't hit a winner, which sounds stupid, since the Waste Management. When I hit 2, DJ and Fowler on the double for 142 to 1. And I feel like I'm on like a cold streak, but, after last year, it just sometimes you take for granted that these things take a little while. I have hit 3 first-round leaders since then, so I've had a little bit of luck, but the outrights I've just been barely off of. I am close to finalizing my card. It will come out tonight for the members over there. I normally wait till Tuesday, but since we kind of had some lines early, had a few plays locked in. I told you Finau was one I locked in December, so even before we went behind the premium service, people got that one. Guys down here, if you're going to take an aggressive route, I don't mind Fowler. I actually saw DJ, Brooks, and Rory and Tiger all move to 10 or 1 or better on Bovada earlier, which surprised me because I thought when JT withdrew, they may go the opposite way, but it looks like guys like Rahm and them got the bumps down. So, if you're going to go like one of those guys and put most of your bankroll in for the week, I don't hate that. I think unlike the Masters or maybe a more specific type course, I think, you can see many different guys win at a PGA Championship historically. So I like to spread it out a little bit, get some good value. But I don't, Matsu, Fowler, DJ, any of those, Braum, if you want to go that route. It limits the amount of plays, but all those are down there. I'm definitely going to be, the bulk of mine is going to be in that 40 to 80 range for sure.
Bucks, anything there?
Yeah, I have 2 bets right now that I placed, both under 40. I think Stenson was 40, Sergio was 35 when I placed them. So those are the only 2 that I'm going to have in that range.
I have them circled right now, but I haven't placed the bet, and it was the guy that I just mentioned, Jason Day. Just 22 to 1. I haven't placed it yet, but I'm thinking about it really hardly. Let's go up the next tier, 40 to 75, 45 to 75. Gup.
Yeah, several in here I can get on. Matsu, depending on what book and what time, he's right in this range. I mentioned earlier he's in my core. I like him, as well as Cantley. He's in this range. I like him. Garcia's in this range. Definitely like him. Guy you mentioned who I had for roundtable, Adam Scott. I think only thing that worries me is he's kind of like Tiger. I don't think he's played. I know he hasn't played on the PGA, but I don't think he's played anywhere since the Masters. He got a third last year at Ruvy. His game for 50 to 1, I think is what I saw him at before the show. I wouldn't mind him. I definitely I'll give a freebie away, and Stinson is going to be on my card at 66 to 1. So if you're a subscriber but not a member yet, that's your freebie of the week. I love that price on him, and we'll be playing Stinson. But there's this range is loaded, so I could list 10 guys if I wanted to, but those are kind of the first guys that popped off.
Bucks.
The only guy that I like or have, and I am considering adding some more of, is Gary Woodland at 70.
I've got Scott and Stinson circled just because you just said Stinson, but I did have Scott. He's still 50 to 1. Gup. Bovada even still has JT listed, by the way, which is whatever. It's just funny.
Oh yeah.
How about 80 to 120? Gup.
Yeah, because of the way I think I'm going to build my card, there won't be a lot in here. I think I'm going to bulk up, and then I'm going to go with several flyers, put small units on them. Aaron Wise is a guy I don't think we really mentioned. I like where his game is. Played good last week, just never got any momentum. So he kind of get something going and fall back a little. A lot like Kevin Tway was. But Wise game went on. This course could fit him, pretty decently. And at 100 to maybe 120, depending on where you're looking, I like him. Kokrak was a guy that obviously I continue to like. He may be a little higher than that right now, the range we're looking at. But
he's at 100 on Bovada.
Okay, yeah. And then, Vegas, I mentioned, he's right at that 125 number. Matt Wallace, 125 number, a Euro that I'll talk about in one of the articles. And then, maybe last in this area, maybe Ryan Moore. I think he may get talked up a little bit just because of his history here, but definitely a good ball striker. DK-wise, I'll have to see where his ownership is, but 125 is not a bad number for him.
Bucks?
Yeah, the two guys that I liked in this range, Gupper mentioned one, but the other guy is Kokrak at 110. I think that's solid value for him.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody from that range right now. So you can get Wise. I think Wise is 125 Cup.
Yeah.
Up on Bovada. So shop around a little bit if you got a chance, people. Gup are who are you now above that? 120 or above.
Yeah, there's some good flyers that you can, and this is a setup where I think you can go. Wallace already mentioned. Peters is a guy that talent wise, now he's a head case at times, but talent wise, if he can put it all together, he can even be worth a top 10, top 20 type based on where his numbers are now. Russell Knox is a guy that I liked last week. Watched him a lot. Always got to go Neiman. That'll be a FOMO bet. Think he's 250.
Yep.
He'll probably wind up being a one that I just do. I'd rather do like a top. I don't know what his top 10 or 20 number would be, but it'd probably be decent enough to take a chance there. I don't necessarily see him winning. Corey Connors at 200 was a guy I mentioned earlier. Definitely don't mind him. Other than that, that's kind of the end of it. Lipsky's a guy that I'll talk about a little bit. From Euro, he's 250. I just don't see, it's fun to click these boxes and put money in, but I do go through a process of saying, okay, is there a scenario where I really see this guy winning in some way, shape, or form? Besides the FOMOs that are just guys I've been on and I'm going to continue to be on, that's kind of a process. And so that's kind of where I'd cut it off for me.
You can get Neiman at 9-1 top 20, 20-1 top 10.
Yeah, I mean, those are good. Those are better plays than outright, but I don't want to miss the outright. But those are smarter bets than what I'll do.
We don't need to get with smart bets when we got talking about a guy over here that bets JJ Spawn every week. But Box, how about you go first?
Deep, there were a few guys that I like. Adam Hadwin at like 250. Surrey at like 175. Those were the two that I was targeting. Surrey's getting talked up a ton in the industry, so I'll likely be fading on DraftKings, but I'll definitely throw a bet down on him.
And you can get Surrey actually 200 now on Bovada. So it's not terrible. But Stanley for me at 200 is very interesting. Gup, you had mentioned this guy before, but Knox at 200. That seems kind of interesting. And obviously my stupid FOMO bet of Spawn, but we don't need to get into that one. But I'll probably do the top 10 on that one. Maybe that's better. I think it's 10-1 on 20-1 or something like that. So I won't get into too much more there. One and done for the week. The standings right now, Bucks, Gup is blowing us away. That's all we need to really know about that. We got some time, but we need to get going. He's got like a $3 million lead on me and about 3.5 on you. So
right where we want him.
We're right where we want him. Exactly what I'm thinking too. Buck or Gup, then since you got the lead, how about you lead us off?
Yeah, and I'll also take this time to mention, for this week you can get, I think it's 20% off. JB can say yes on our Gup's Corner. Yep, Gup's Corner shirts. This week only. We have limited supplies. We almost sold out on the initial order, but we had a few left. We're going to give 20% off. JB can tell me the code in my head because I've got 10 different codes today. But you can use that PGA 20. So use that when you check out. You do not have to be a member or pay anything. The merchandise link will be up. We have tweets out there, but you can go to the website and just click merchandise, and you can buy it without even being a member. It's not blocked or behind a wall or anything. So 20% off of that, which is awesome. Limited supplies, so make sure I'd get on it quicker than I wouldn't wait because there's only, I think there's medium, large, and extra large left. We are in the middle of designs for future merchandise. I'll just leave it at that. So stay tuned on some add-ons to the store. This is kind of our pilot run, but not only shirts, but some other things we're working on. This was a huge success in our mind. Not a big moneymaker for us, and it wasn't meant for that. It was just kind of gauge to see how the community liked it, and it was well received. We have a lot of people on Twitter wearing it. A lot of guys that we gave them one. Oh, yeah. Will Bryanson's a huge follower of ours. He's a great guy. And he was watching one of the movies the other day and had it on and took a picture, and I got tagged in it, and they're like, look at your shirt, which it was cool. Because it was, we weren't trying to look for it. It just happened to be there, but it is an awesome shirt. And I think everybody that's gotten it has realized, because there's people that will put shirts out and they're cheaply made. These are the highly quality shirts. We didn't put hardly any markup in them because we wanted to just push it and see what people liked on it. So check it out, get one before they sell out, and then be on alert for our next order.
So who's your pick this week then, Gup?
So I love a lot of guys, obviously. This is a part, I think we're in our second week of the third segment. And so if you're saving your bullets, you're going to get 2 majors in this segment. A lot of money in this segment. So, I wouldn't save them much longer. And I've obviously, like others, I've used a lot of the top guys. I was down to with who I had left, Matsu and Jason Day, as my pick for this one. I love both of them. I'm going to go Matsu because I believe more people have used him, and I didn't do the research because I know you can use our site to do it, so I'm an idiot for not doing that. But I'm going to go Matsu because I think he's probably been used more than Day, and some people may drop down to Day just because they've used all the top guys. So that's just my I like them both, but I'm going to go Matsu for my pick here.
I think some people got Day back, including myself, because of when that withdrawal.
Correct. Yeah. And so that was a big one too. So I'm gonna lean that too. But I could see either one of those for, and obviously the top tiers there. So if you have any of those guys, use them. But next level, that's who I have left, and I'm gonna go with him.
Bucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Casey as my one and done in ours, and my secondary is gonna be Stenson.
I'm going the other one that you threw out there, Gup. I'm going Jason Day. I had locked it in actually right before you even said it. Jason Day is my pick for this week since I did get him back when he withdrew. So that's an omen that he's going to win this week.
Yeah.
Probably not, but it's all right. Just want to remind everybody, Emergency 9 o'clock Eastern, Wednesday night for the majors. It is very beneficial. Please get in. The Slack is also very, very important throughout the week. Lots of articles coming out, including one later tonight that I am working on. I will be up until I finish that. We have my full list again of all the major participants. So this week. So you get to hear about some guy that I said I will never have heard of, so I don't think he can win. But Gup, anything else you got to finish off the night?
No, big week in the industry, obviously big week for us. The community probably couldn't be stronger right now. Really excited for the growth in what is now our 3-month mark. The premium service. We have a lot of exciting things going on in the industry, in our community, behind the scenes. Anybody that knows us knows that, what we've worked on and what we're doing hasn't been a money grab. It's been to help build the foundation. And, obviously we put a lot of time into it. And so, yeah, there's a, financial reward at some point. I can tell you right now, all the money and cash flow is staying into the business. So, and we're using that to work on things, for the summer and then leading into football season. And so it's a great time to join. You get, 3 majors, including this one, and then all of our football prep starting out. We already have our college football guy locked in. He did a great job last year. I'll be working with him on some content. He's going to be the lead, simply because I just can't stretch that far as covering NFL fall swing, because we are going to cover fall swing, as strong or stronger than anybody in the industry this year. We're going to have more about we're going to use it as a teaching kind of deal, bankroll management, people that are new, understanding the web guys coming on, understanding contest, go a little bit behind the curtains during the fall swing to educate our community. Got some exciting things there. We're going to debut something during the fall swing that nobody knows about right now, but I'm working on it in the background. So it's a great time to jump in, especially to get 25% off. Before Sunday. After that, all of our promos go away. We basically have had a promo every week since the Masters. After this, it'll be isolated to specific sponsors and affiliate type deals that we're working on, but no more free for all. So I take advantage this week. Check it out. 25% off the monthly. I don't even know what that comes to, but $10 or $11 to try it this month. I promise you, after a week, you'll be hooked. And it's not just about, and this is something I actually threw out to Wiley for his pod, so I'm interested to see what he said. And I had a long talk with my wife the other night, and it's not about growing the community with numbers. Like, I don't give a shit if we have 600 people or 6,000. I want the right people in there. I want people that like us for us, believe in what we believe in, support what we support. So if you're going to be an asshat or a clown, we'll ask you to leave, and it is what it is. Like, I don't need 5,000 people in there just to say I got it. We want the right community people, and that's what we built this from day one. And I told you last week I had to learn about the block button and all that, and I hate doing that because it's not my style. But I can't have that noise in there. And our community does a lot more than just talk golf and football. There's a lot of personal things in there, family things in there that we help each other on and lean each other on, and it's really come way more than I could ever express or believe in, and it's awesome. So I encourage you guys to give it a try. We've kept the weekly out there for $4.99. If you feel you just want to try it out for a week, do that. I promise you'll upgrade later. But we want that out there so you guys have a chance. Other than that, we're going to be action-packed the next 48 hours. The E9 chat will be loaded Wednesday night. It always is for a major. This one will be more so with weather, and there's just so many guys. Unlike the Masters where you're really fine-tuning 65 guys, you got a lot of options here. And there's a lot of information you got to digest, especially with the Euros. So I'd expect a full hour or more for Wednesday night. Normally we do 30 minutes, but, hop in and, we'll all be on Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
SmashFactor.